We're in Masechet Megilah on Daf Yud Bet Amud Bet, right before they branch off to the right. The Gemara quotes the pasuk in the Megilah, "Vatima'ein hamalka Vashti," that Vashti, the queen, refused to come to the party that Achashverosh had invited her or asked her to come to. So the Gemara questions this pasuk, Mechti Pritzusa Havoy. We know that Vashti was not so moral, because the Gemara said earlier, the Gemara earlier asserted that both Achashverosh and Vashti were hosting parties where their intent was for sexual immorality. So they were both intending for Averot to occur. So Achashverosh was immoral by asking her to come before him naked. She was also like-minded. My time Allah saw you. Why didn't she come? Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina melamed sheparcha bat sarat. So Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina says it must be that she had a skin disease, like a leprosy, which made her not want to come and look bad. B'masnisa Tana, another opinion is cited in the Braita, Ba Gavriel v'asa la zanav, that Gavriel came and made for her a zanav, which is either a tail or some other odd appendage. So she didn't want to come because she was in this predicament. This also continues with the Gemara's sort of mindset that Vashti, since ultimately she was dethroned, must have been deserving. She sinned. She caused the Jewish girls to violate Shabbat and to be naked, and it was Midah Keneged Midah that she had to suffer in this way as well. So the Megillah continues to say that Achashverosh got very angry that she refused to come. And the Gemara wonders, Amai Dalkabe Kulehai, why was Achashverosh so angry? If it would have said he's upset that she didn't come, you'd understand. She's not listening to him. He's upset. But here it sort of emphasizes that he got very, very angry. Seems like more than you would have expected based on what happens. So what was the reason for that? Amar Rava suggests, Shalchale, she sent a message to Achashverosh, and she said, Bar Ahuraire Abba, you're like a lowly weaver relative to my father. Abba, my father, who was king, Belshazzar, Lekabel Alfa Cham Reshasi Velo Rave. He would drink 1,000 times as much alcohol as everyone else, and he wouldn't lose his senses. He would be able to hold his alcohol. V'ahu Gavra Ishtate Bechamre Miyad V'chamasa Baravo. But you drink a little wine, and you're so angry, and you're so out of control of yourself. So Vashti sort of triggered his self-confidence and his anger, and by her saying this, he was so insulted that his anger was disproportionate. Like Sof HaMelech Ma'od, he was very angry. By Yomer HaMelech HaChachamim. So then the next thing that happens is that the king, Achashverosh, spoke to his Chachamim. By Yomer HaMelech HaChachamim Yodei Haitim. He spoke to his wise people who knew about times. And he's going to look for advice what to do with this situation. So, Man Chachamim, who are these Chachamim? So the Gemara suggests that they are the Rabbanan, that when he wanted to get advice about what to do about his wife Vashti, he called in the rabbis. Why? Because Yodei Haitim, because they were the people who knew about time. Sheyodim la'aber shanim v'gvoach hadashim. They knew how to calculate the movements of the sun and the moon, and they could calculate leap years and figure out when was the new lunar month. So here the Gemara might be referring to the fact that Jews do this for the Jewish calendar, or maybe he actually relied on the Jewish Chachamim, the Jewish rabbis, to establish his own leap years for his calendar. Anyway, he brought them in. He thought they were smart. Amrlu dainu huli. He said to them, you're so wise. You tell me how to judge her. Amru, they said, Heichi navid. They said, meaning to themselves, what should we do? Nemalei katla. If we say, we advise that you kill Vashti because of her insubordination. Lamachar pasik lecharme minan. What's going to happen tomorrow? He's angry because he's drunk. Tomorrow, he's going to sober up, and then he's going to find out that she's dead because of our advice, and he's going to hold us responsible for that. Nemalei shafka. If we say, it's not such a big deal, let it go. Don't punish her. We will be making light of his authority, which he's not going to appreciate either. Amrulo. So this is what they said. Miyom shechar beis hamikdash v'galina me'artzenu. Once our Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, not so long ago, a few decades ago, v'galina me'artzenu, and we've been exiled. Nitla eitza mimenu. We lost the ability to have wise advice because the turbulence of the exile has made us not as insightful as we were. And we can't judge and make decisions about things that refer to capital punishment. We don't feel like we have that capacity, which is actually consistent with the halacha, where we don't judge dinei nefashos without the Sanhedrin in Yerushalayim. So even in terms of advising you, we don't have that capacity to make decisions, life and death. Zil agabe Ammon and Moav. You should go ask the scholars of Ammon and Moav. The Yasvei b'duchtayu. They are sitting in their places. Kechamrei de Yasiv al Durdaya. They're like good wine sitting on a sediment. When the sediment settles to the bottom and the wine is sitting on top of the sediment, and it's really good wine, they are really at peace. They have not been exiled or experienced turbulence. So they're a good people to go and ask this question to. Tosfos here suggests that maybe we should take out Ammon and it's only Moab because Ammon was exiled, but be that as it may. And the Gemara continues to reflect on this approach of the Chachamim. Here the Gemara again is inserting a whole story that happened between the lines. Time Amrulay, and they were giving him good advice, or that they were correct. Dichsiv Shanan Moav Minut Rav V'Shokethu Al Shemarav V'Lo Hurak Mikli Al Kli U'Bagolah Lo Halach Al Kain Amar Tamo Bo V'Recho Lo Namar. So this pasuk in Yirmiyahu basically says this, that Moab has been at ease. It's settled on its sediment. They use the metaphor is actually borrowed from Yirmiyahu. And he was not poured from one vessel to another or gone into exile, and therefore his taste and scent are unchanged and are strong. So this metaphor is actually based on the Tanakh and asserts that they are have their wisdom, at least Moab. Miyad. So immediately, what does Achashverosh do? So what happened is that basically the Gemara is interpreting that in Pasuk Yud Gimel, Parak Aleph, Pasuk Yud Gimel, the king calls in the Chachamim, the ones who know about time. This is the rabbis. This is what he would do. And in between Yud Gimel and Yud Bet, they had this whole conversation where the Chachamim said, "Don't ask us; we're not smart enough. Go ask Ammon and Moab." And then the next pasuk Miyad, without mentioning this interluding narrative, he goes to ask advice from them. These are Sarai, Parasu, Madai. These are the officers of Parasu Madai, and not the Jewish rabbis. So. Amar Bilevi, Kol pasuk zeh al shum karbanos ne'amar. So this whole pasuk should be interpreted to be a reference to the karbanos. Ne'amar Karshana, the first advisor he called was Karshana. Amru Malachi Asharis L'nei Kadosh Baruch Hu. So this is an allusion to the tefillah that the Malachim asked, offered to Hashem, Ribono shel olam, klum ekrivu lefanecha karim b'nei shana kederech she'ekrivu Yisrael lefanecha. Master of the universe, did the non-Jews ever offer you lambs of the first year, 1 year old, as a korban before you, like the Jews have done? So this is a tefillah for the impending challenge upon the Jewish people. The Malachim said Karshana is a reference to the Karim. Shesar, the second advisor, was Shesar. Klum ekrivu lefanecha shtei torin. Did these Gentiles offer 2 turtle doves as a korban? The third advisor at the Masa, Klum banu lefanecha mizbeach adama. Did they build a mizbeach, an altar made of earth, like the Jews did? Tarshish, the next advisor, Tarshish, Klum shimshu lefanecha bevigdei kahuna. Did they serve you wearing bigdei kahuna? Dichsibuhu Tarshish, which says, where we have over here, Tarshish v'shalom yashva mishubatzim zahav yiyum miluasam. So the bigdei kahuna were called Tarshish. So did Haman and his people serve you like a Kohen Gadol, wearing bigdei kahuna? Meres, and the last advisor is Meres. Klum mirsu b'dam lefanecha. Excuse me, the second to last, Meres. Did they stir the blood like the Jews did, because they would have to stir the blood before the sprinkling of the blood so it wouldn't congeal. So they were always mimares the blood. Did Haman do that? Marsana klum mirsu b'menachos lefanecha. Did they mix the korban mincha, the flour and the oil, before you? Mimuchan. Here's the last one. Mimuchan klum hechinu shulchan lefanecha. Did they prepare a table before you, like the Jewish people did, the lechem hapanim? So all of the names of the advisors are allusions to the tefillos of the malachim before God, all referencing the somewhat recent destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, and that's alluded in this pasuk. Okay, so again, Vayomer in the pasuk Yudal, Vayomer elav Karshana Shesar ad Masa Tarshish Meres Marsana Memuchan Shiva Sarei Parasim Adai Ro Epnei Melech Yishon Machus, to ask them what he should do, and then who responds? Vayomer Memuchan L'Tnei Melech. And then Memuchan speaks. Memuchan, of course, was the very last of the advisors. So, Vayomer Memuchan, Tana Memuchan Zehaman. So we have a tradition that Memuchan was actually Haman. V'lama nikra shema Memuchan. Why was his name Memuchan? Shemuchan l'puranus, because he was prepared, he was ready for a disaster. Rashi understands that the disaster, Omed Lios Taloi, refers not to the disaster that he prepared for the Jews, but the fact that he would be hung. He was prepared for that eventuality. Amar Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana has a different thing to learn from the name Memuchan, or a different message to learn from Memuchan. Mikad shahahedjot kofetz barosh. This tells you that a hedjot, which is someone who's not so refined, jumps up first, because Memuchan was listed last amongst the advisors, so that means that he was probably not the most prominent, but he's the first one to speak, because a not such a refined person jumps to speak first, even when he's not necessarily the wisest. So what does Memuchan say? Vayomer Memuchan l'fnei hamelech v'asarim lo hamelech levado v'sav Hashem alka ki al kol asarim ve'al kol amim asher b'chol midos hamelech Achashverosh. So Memuchan says that this is to be taken as a very big deal, because it's not just one person not listening to one person, but this is an entire social revolution which has to be stopped. So Leos kolish shorer b'veiso Amar Rava ilmale igros rishonos lo nishtayer misonem shal Yisrael savid v'palit. So this first letter that Achashverosh sent out, which he says, Imam al Tovi, it says Dvar Malchus Lefanech v'Kasei b'Tasei Paras Mardai v'Lo Yavor Shelo Tavav. So he sent letters telling all the people of the kingdom that this is not to be tolerated, and he does this. Which is like a foreshadowing to the letters that will come later in the Megillah, which will be in reference to the destruction of the Jewish people. So the Gemara says, if not for these original letters, then there would be nothing left of the remnants of the enemies of Israel, which is really the Jewish people. In other words, the Jewish people would have been destroyed if not for this first letter, which seems to be completely unrelated to the actual narrative of the plot of Haman, but actually it ties in because Amri, my high deshadir lachalios kol isha rebbe. So pshita v'yilkarcha bevese pardashka lehave. So this original letter actually diminished the respect that Achashverosh had in the in the kingdom, because the people said every fool knows this basic thing that a man should have authority in his household. Ahasuerus's letter asserting that the man should have control of their household was considered to be ridiculously unnecessary. So when Ahasuerus sent this letter, people thought he wasn't so serious. These letters come with this big proclamation and this like seal of the king, but it made him look kind of not wise, and therefore later on, when Achashverosh sent the letter about the destruction of the Jewish people, it wasn't given so much respect. So then the king sent these letters. Amar Rav, kol arum yaseh b'das uchasil yifros avelas. What is this? What is the meaning of this pasuk? Which comes from Mishlei. Kol arum yaseh b'das, which means that every prudent person acts with das, with wisdom. Uchsil yifros avelas, and a non-wise person will spread out his folly. So that's a reference to what's happening in the Megillah. Kol arum yaseh b'das zed David. Tichsiv hayomer lo avadav yivachshu adoni hamelech na'ara b'sula. So compare Achashverosh to David HaMelech. David HaMelech, at the end of his life, was in search of a woman to be with him. So they sent out into the Jewish kingdom to try to find the one who would be appropriate for the king. So, but when David did it, they were looking for one woman to lie with David. Whoever would not be chosen would not lie with David HaMelech. So kol man dahavile barasa, ayitze nihale. So everyone who had a daughter would bring her, because if you're not chosen, nothing bad happens. You're not chosen. If you are chosen, you get to lie. You get to be with the king. So everyone wanted to come. Uchsil yifrosh avelas, and a non-wise person spreads out his folly. Everyone understood with Achashverosh that every single woman who would be brought to him would have to sleep with him, and then 99% would be tossed away, and then one would be chosen. So whoever was smart would hide their daughters from him. So everyone was hiding their daughters from Achashverosh. Okay, going on in the Megillah, Ish Yehudi haya b'Shushan Abira. So we are introduced to Mordechai, that there was an Ish Yehudi, a Jewish person. This is in Parak Bet Pasuk Hey. Ish Yehudi haya b'Shushan Abira, Shmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Yemini. So we're going to analyze the name of Mordechai, who's introduced by Ish Yehudi, which is going to which means he's from Shevet Yehuda, and then it ends with Ish Yemini, which seems like it means from Binyamin. And then in between, his name is Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish, which is of course unusual to mention his father, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather. So if you want to give me his full lineage, his whole family tree, so go all the way back to Binyamin. Keep going. Why stop at the great grandfather? Ella Maishna Hani. So why did it mention only his father, his grandfather, his great grandfather? Kulam al Shmo Nikru. They're all names that reflect his personal qualities. Ben Yair, the son of Yair, Ben Sheheir Einayim Shal Yisrael B'Tfilaso. So Ben, by the way, the word Ben has two meanings. One means the child of, and Ben also means a person of, like a Ben Torah, a Ben Eretz Yisrael, a person of Torah, a person of Eretz Yisrael. So we're interpreting it, Ben Yair, a person who was illuminating to the eyes of the Jewish people, b'tfilaso, because he davened so sincerely to Hashem to save the Jewish people. Ben Shimi, who was the son of Shimi, Ben Sheshama es tfilaso, Ben Shimi, someone whose tefillah was heard. Ben Kish shehikish es sharei rachamim. Ben Kish means he knocked on the gates of mercy, v'niftechu, and they were open for him. Karila Yehudi, Alma Yehuda Kasi. He's called in the beginning of the pasuk a Yehudi from Shevet Yehuda. The Karila Yemini, and he's also called Yemini, Alma Binyamin Kasi. So that refers to the tribe of Binyamin that he came from. Amar Rav Nachman, Mordechai Muchter bin Yimusin Hayu. Mordechai was crowned with nice names. Rashi, B'Shemos Na'in, Nimos means names in Greek, says Rashi. So, Amar Rabbi Bar Chana, Amar B'Shum Levi, Aviv mi Binyamin v'imo mi Yehuda. This means that his father was from Binyamin and his mother was from Yehuda, and he had a great yichus on both sides. And the pasuk tells us about both. Rabbanan Amri Mishpachos Miskaros Zubazu. Rabbanan said that the families of Shevet Yehuda and Shevet Binyamin were fighting one with the other. Yehuda Omeres Anagarim to Misyal and Mordechai. Yehuda says it's our zechus that Yehuda was born. To Misyal and Mordechai to Lokatla David L'Shimon and Gera. It's the special yichus of the tribe of Yehuda who David, his ancestor, decided to have mercy on Shimon ben Gera and not kill him, even though he deserved it possibly for not listening to the king. And since David didn't kill him, good thing that happened is that Mordechai descended from Shimon ben Gera. So even though he descended from Binyamin, it's really only because of the tribe of Yehuda that this great leader was born. Umishpachas Binyamin Amra Minai Kasi. And Binyamin says, yeah, but he's actually from our tribe. Rava Amar, Knesset Yisrael Amar Le'idachki. So Ro Ma'asal Yehudi U'Mashilim Le'Yimini. Rava says that there's the opposite way, that it was the opposite. The Jewish people had the opposite argument. They said, look what this Yehudi did, and look what I got from the Yemini. Ma'asali Yehudi, from the tribe of Yehuda, to Lokala David L'Shimei, to Tiyali Minei Mordechai, de Mikne Be Haman. That it's too bad that that David HaMelech didn't kill Shimon ben Gera like he should have, because now, he was Chayav Misa, and David neglected to do what he was supposed to do, and now we have this descendant Mordechai who provokes Haman and endangered the entire Jewish people. So they're seeing Mordechai in a negative light, and they're blaming Yehuda for bringing on Mordechai, who would cause this trouble to the Jewish people. And look what Binyamin did. That Binyamin should have killed Agag, who was the king of Amalek, who he was supposed to kill and he didn't kill. And Agag subsequently had a child who became the progenitor of Mordechai. So if only the Binyamin person, if only Shaul, who was from Binyamin, would have done what he's supposed to do, Mordechai wouldn't have been born to later bring about all the pain and trouble that Haman would bring about to the Jewish people because of Mordechai. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Li'olam Binyamin Ka'asi. Rabbi Yochanan says he's really only from Binyamin. But my Kari like Yehudi Al Shim Shakafar about Avodah Zarah. Really, he was from Shevet Binyamin, and Ish Yehudi does not refer to his ancestry, but rather to his identity. That Yehudi is a title given for any Jew who rejects Avodah Zarah. Shekol HaKofar about Avodah Zarah Nikri Yehudi D'chsiv I see Guvin Yudai, like it says in Sefer Daniel, referring to Hanani and Azariah, that they were Yehudim, not because they come from the tribe of Yehuda, but because they refused to bow down to the idol of Nebuchadnezzar. So you see that Yehudi is a title of honor given to people who refuse to do Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, ki havi pasuk with Divrei Hayamim Amar. So now the Gemara is going to interpret a pasuk from Divrei Hayamim and say that Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi basically is opening drasha for Divrei Hayamim. Amar hachi kol dvarecha echadhim v'anu yodim l'darshan. So all the names in Divrei Hayamim, which is really a list of a lot of names, they're all referring to the same person or people, and we just have to know how to darshan it. So he would focus on Parak Daled of Divrei Hayamim Aleph. So Ishto HaYehudis Yoldas Yered Avi Gedor Eschever Avi Sochav Esekutiel Avi Zanoach Eila B'nei Basya. So these are the Eila B'nei Basya Bas Paro Asher Lakach Mered. So the children of Basya, the daughter of Paro, who married Mered, had these children. Yered, Avigador, Chever, etc. So really, she had only one child, or one child that's being referred to here. Amai Karla Yehudia. Why was she called Yehudia? Al Shum Shekafra B'Avodah Zarah. So this is the connection to what we were just talking about. That Ishto HaYehudia, the wife of Mered was Yehudia, but she was really Basya Bas Paro. So why was she called Yehudia? Because she rejected the Avodah Zarah that she was raised with. Because Yehudia always means someone who rejects Avodah Zarah, apparently, even if the person is not Jewish. Because Bas Paro in Sefer Shemos, we are told, went down to the Nile River to bathe. So she went to the Nile to wash away the Avodah Zarah of her father's house. Yalda v'haribuye revivte lomer lacha shekol v'gadol yasom v'yasom b'toch beisom alav kasav kilu yaldo. Why does it say that Why does it say that Basya gave birth to her son, which is going to refer to Moshe? She ribuye revivte. She raised him, but she adopted him. She didn't give birth to him. So this teaches us that any person who raises an orphan boy or girl, yasom v'yasom b'toch beisom, in his house like a child, it's like he gets the credit as if he or she gave birth to that child. Yered zeh Moshe. When it says that her child was Yered, what it really means is that it was Moshe, but he's called Yered because the Mon fell down for the Jewish people in his life. Gedor, why does it say that her child was Gedor? Shegadar Pritzusein Shal Yisrael. So Gedor is a second reference to Moshe. It's not a second child. He fenced. Again, was a fence. He fenced the breaches of the Jewish people. He improved the problems of the Jewish community. Chever, Why does it say that our third son was Chever? It's also a reference to Moshe, Shechiber es Yisrael Avim Shemaim, because he attached the Jewish people to their Father in heaven, to Hashem. Socho shenasalam Yisrael kesukkah. He was like a sukkah to protect the Jewish people. Yekutiel, why does it say the next child was Yekutiel? Because this is also a reference to Moshe Rabbeinu, Shekivu Yisrael lekel biyamav, that the Jewish people turned their hope to Hashem during his days. So Noach shehiznich avonoseim shel Yisrael, that he brought atonement for the sins of the Jewish people in his day. He cast off the sins of the Jewish people. Avi, Avi, Avi. So then it says that he had three children. Avi, Avi Gedor, Avi Socho, Avi Zanoach. Why does it keeps repeating the word Avi? It could have just said Avi and listed all the names. So Av Batorah, Av also could mean like a leader. He was a leader of Torah, a leader in Chachma. Av Ben Avi is a leader of prophecy. B'nei Basya, the pasuk concludes, these were the children of Basya, Shalokach Mered, who married Mered. V'chi Mered Shemo, was Basya, the daughter of Paro, the father of Moshe, really married to Mered? V'alo Kalev Shemo, she really married Kalev. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Yavo Kalev Shemarad Ba'asas Meraglim V'yisa Bas Paro Shemarda Begiut Vesavia. So really, Kalev was actually married to Basya. At some point, she married Kalev, but he's called Mered because he rebelled against the plot of the Meraglim. Mered, to rebel or to like go against the tide, or where everyone's doing a sin. So all the other Meraglim had an evil intention, and he went against them. Just like she, Basya, went against the tide and rejected the Avodah Zarah of her family. And this is the full meaning of this pasuk in Devrei Yamim. Isha Yudia, she Basparo Yalda gave birth, or really raised, Moshe, who was called Yered, Avi Gdor, Avi Chever, Avi Socho, Yekutiel, Avi Zanoach. These are all the qualities of Moshe Rabbeinu. V'ele b'nei Basya, the children of Basya, Basparo, which was her real name, Basya, who married Mered and went against the Avodah Zarah of her time.